Good morning. I'd like you to welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Pace. I'm here to fight CPS with you and get your children back or keep your children. Who am I? I'm a loving husband, a father of 6 children, and I care about you all that are trying to get your kids back. I too was a victim of the child protection system. CPS is what I call it for short, the child protection system. It's called many different names in many different states. But the system I'm talking about is the branch of social services enacted by Congress to protect our children from neglect and abuse and to do family reunification. Good morning, Ron.
Morning, Bob.
I'm glad that you called in. This is a good time for you, huh?
I don't know if it is or not. I'm sorry, man. Right now, I just got to tell you what went on.
Okay.
Anyhow, I don't know. I think I told you that the caseworker for my daughter, the 10th one she had, she was in treatment, substance abuse with my daughter. We looked up her criminal record, and she's been in prison 3 times. Domestic abuse, no contact orders was filed against her how many times. She put in the report that her son tested positive for illegal substances of August 23. He was in our custody, our care. There was no drug test taken. He wasn't away from us. I mean, and she had public defender, so a public defender could have ripped this bee a new home. Did nothing.
How will you be defended, Ron?
Pardon?
What was your attorney? Was it a public defender or a one that you retained?
The one she had for the TPR was we hired a private one for the appeal, and she was real good at first. You would think we're hard to get along with, but we're really not. But we never seen the evidence submitted to the state for termination of hearing, and we kept asking this attorney and asking for it, and a month went on, and then she sent an invoice for it after a month that how many pages, postage, blah, blah, blah. And I says, if you charge us, please send that. She ignored it. So I sent her a letter stating, I said, please, can you have fax that to us, scan it back to us by noon of the day. We're coming to town anyhow. We'll stop and pick it up, but if we got to stop and pick it up, we'll go to the bar and the ombudsman. I should have maybe said that, but it was 6 weeks.
Oh my God! And this is an attorney you retained?
This was the paid attorney.
I know, the one that you would have a retainer. Did you have agreement with that attorney?
Yeah, I gave him $4,000, and she said there's even money left over. There was time
Right,
for the
right.
Supreme Court appeal, and she said she was going to do that, but we never heard anything.
Now, what was her background? Was she a dependency attorney?
It's family law. Family law.
Go ahead, Ron.
She deals in a lot of fields. Is it hard to hear me? I'll try this.
Yeah, it is. It's dropping in and out. I got you on my microphone going on the show, but I have my thing turned up full blast, so.
I'm sorry. I'll be.
Yeah,
speak
this is a little bit better. Okay, so you got this attorney. You have a retainer. What kind of background is this attorney?
She's been in practice about 10 years, and it was family law, child cases, custody, etc.
Has she ever worked in dependency court? She ever worked in dependency court? Has she ever done anything against CPS? Has she ever fought CPS?
Yeah,
Okay, so you have a capable attorney, and what is she not doing? What is she not performing?
she never talked to us. We never seen the evidence that was submitted to the court. She got it. They wouldn't give the courts wouldn't give it to my daughter. I don't know why that was, but they wouldn't give it to her. Um, she got it, but she went and filed her appeal without even calling us, visiting with us, what was in it. And there was a lot of things in there that we'd have, if you could, I don't know what you can and can't do, that we'd have contested immediately. But I think if there's a place, someplace in here that asks for a mistrial or a new trial, it's what we'd like to do. We're up against the deadline now. Tomorrow is the Supreme Court hearing.
Now, while you're at the Supreme Court, have you done an appeal?
I didn't hear you.
I said, while you're at the Supreme Court, have you done an appeal?
Yeah, we did the appeal to the state and were denied.
Okay, and what was the appeal for? What was the appeal for?
Determination of rights was not.
What rights were they taking
There was
care
too
of?
many issues.
Were they okay? I
They terminated my daughter.
so your daughter, and how old is your daughter again?
They're 6.
Okay, I'm totally confused now. I thought you were the father of a young daughter who has a child uh, in CPS court.
I'm the grandfather.
Okay, now I understand. I did not know you're the grandfather. That's what. So you have a daughter who has a child, and how old is that child?
6.
6 years old. And what was your daughter accused of? What was the allegation?
Drugs.
Okay, so that she was accused of drugs. Was she on drugs when they took you took your granddaughter?
She says she wasn't. She was. I don't know what the truth is.
Well, has there been any drug reports done on her? Have there been any drug reports done on her?
Well, she said the test. They did the patch test, and they come back with nanometers over.
But the question is that who did the drug testing? Did CPS do the drug testing, or do you get an independent doctor that you choose? Well, see, there's your mistake. There's your mistake right there. You cannot trust CPS to do any testing on drugs. You have to get an outside. Does she have a medical insurance? Does she have some way of medical insurance?
State.
What do you mean by state? Is she low income? Is it
State
Medi-Cal?
insurance. I mean, she's Medicaid.
Okay, Medicaid. Okay, so she has a very basic insurance, but even still, they will do a drug test. They'll do a drug test. She needs to go to her doctor and do a drug test. But see, it's too late now because the drug test has to be done at the time of the accusation. So, for instance, if she's at home, and how did they find out that she was using drugs with her children? Did they come into the house, or how did they find out?
She got in trouble for stealing.
Okay, so this started off as a petty larceny, then a petty larceny case,
Yeah.
and she had a child, and then probably the police probably reported her to CPS.
They could have. We
Yeah.
had to take this.
Well, I understand that. I'm just trying to. I don't know all the beginnings, and it's helpful if I know it. But here's what they could have done. They could have done what's called a safety plan, where they determine what's best for the child, and they could have put the child with family members like yourself. As a grandfather, you could take care of your granddaughter.
That's what they did.
Huh? That's what they did?
That's what they did. Or we already had them. We already had them.
Oh, okay. Okay. So,
I've lost them.
okay. So you went and hired an attorney to defend your daughter, and now this attorney has gone bellied up on you.
Well, I'm feeling that way. We hired her February 14th. The first appeal was March 24th, and we don't get no contact for her. Well, and we won't.
Okay, have you tried to call her to set up a meeting with her? Have you tried to call her?
All I get is her voicemail.
Okay, then what you need to do is you need to go to the lawyer. She can be disbarred if you have the retainer, which is a signed document between you and her, and she refuses to talk to you and stuff. You can have her disbarred and get another attorney. There's no sense.
Making more trouble for herself. We just want a good attorney.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying. I know you are, and I know that's so hard, Ron. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you, and now I'm starting to understand the picture. Your daughter did a crime, and because of the crime, she had a child, and the child was not safe to be around your daughter because she did a crime. The drug thing is irrelevant. If she does drugs, that's a secondary action. It's not. It's not fit for a mother to be on drugs and take care of her children. That's why it's in there. But is the child still in your hands?
Yes.
Good. Thank God. That's the most positive thing you've told me.
This is another odd one too. 2 years ago, we were given no Zoom hearing. We were given guardianship, and then they pulled this China, and they claimed that they could yank the guardians, and they did.
Well, wait. Why would they take guardianship away from you? Why would they take guardianship from you?
I wish I knew the answer to that, Bob. I kept telling them. We got guardianship. No, we're going to take them.
Now, who's they? Is that the CPS workers?
State. That's the state, yeah.
Well, when you say the state, are you fighting this at the state level or at the county level?
I can't honestly answer that. It's the Department of Human Services.
Well, the Department of Human Services at the state level.
Okay.
And so what's happened is somehow your guardianship. What city and state are you in?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Okay, CPS in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
But I think you're going to have to go Department of Human Health Services.
Not necessary. We just let me get this spelled right. Rapids. R-A-P. Okay. You have paper and pencil?
I got it. Second.
Are you in Polk County? What county are you in?
Lynn.
What county?
Lynn.
Okay, Lynn. All right. Okay. Here's the contact of the state of Iowa.
Just a second. I'm going to turn my recorder on. I can get it now.
Okay. All right. You tell me when to go on.
Just had a pen in here, but oh well.
Oh, that's okay. If you have your recorder on, you can play this back. See, copy. All right. Okay. Well, that's all right. Um, what I was going to do is, um, okay. Uh,
Ah, it's on the 10th.
okay. I want to put on the show the link, the wedge page link that you can go to.
Okay, when you're ready, go ahead.
Okay. Um, okay. Happy Feet just texted in. I'm going through something similar. My public defender didn't even show up to the court last week. The court allowed my husband's public defender to represent me, which we did not agree to doing. You can't be represented. Two people can't be represented by the same attorney. That's against the law. Now I just sent you a link there called the hhs.iowa.gov, and what that is sent you there is the Iowa Health and Human Services. And what you want to do is you want to search CPS cases.
You understand what happened here.
Well, yeah, okay. First of all, you got a bad attorney, and that's sad that you spent $4,000 retainer for an attorney that's turned out to be nothing for you. And so I'm trying to help you, and I'm trying to find out where your records are. Now, did you get that link I sent you?
Did you send it in an email?
No, I sent it in the public chat in my podcast.
Oh, it should be. And that stays there until I.
Yeah, that's the main league. Now here's the one that will have your records.
No, I didn't. Where the hell? I didn't get it. The last thing I got here is that says I can finally get it. If I go to the top, I get it.
Now I
It's
just
not coming from the comment.
well it should be. I just put it. It should come in one of the rooms. All the rooms are being shown it. It's hhs.iowa.gov. hhs.iowa.gov. And then I just sent you another link about the records. I just sent you another link. Welcome, Isaac Lane. They don't turn over the case files. Legislators created the statutes being federal statutes. This creates civil investigation, and they are using qualified immunity in order to insulate themselves from lawsuits. Yeah, I know that they're trying to be tricky there. Now, I sent you another link, and it's called hs.gov/initiative/open-records. And you can find your case there. I'm trying to find out where your case is at the level because I don't know if you're at the state level or at the county level. And you don't know yourself, right?
No.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put my email in there.
Well, you're going to do two things. You're going to contact the complaint for attorneys in Iowa. And Cedar, you're going to go to the Iowa State page. Let me see if I still got it here. Open records.
It should be a Kayla.
Yeah, this website, the official state of Iowa website, has a search bar. You can look for things here, and you want to repute abuse and fraud. If you have an attorney, you can probably report abuse and fraud to them. Let's see. Report abuse and fraud. Report WIC abuse and fraud. mandatory reporting, member fraud, report suspected Medicare fraud, report Medicare fraud, report Iowa child care complaint, nursing home and home health, WC vendor, Glenwood resource. Okay. Um, I'm trying for you, Ron. Hold on here.
No, I know, I'm patient. I threw my email in there. If you could take
Report.
that and then link you got, put it in an email to me. I don't know if you can do that or not, but well, I got to back up to the beginning of this. So, okay, my daughter had something that she wanted nothing shape. My daughter asked me because they were using the sweat package, and they were coming back both. She said, "I'm not using drugs. I'm not doing them." Well, then they switched around and they wouldn't answer her text
Yeah.
when she was supposed to go get her badges changed, nothing. And she's got the text yet. And they just blew it and they said that she missed her test, so or positive.
Well, the mistake was your daughter getting herself in trouble with the petty larceny. All right. That was the mistake. That's not your fault, Ron. You did nothing wrong. Now, because
It
she,
happens.
I know people do mistakes in life. You try to take care of your children. I have the same way with my kids. I'll do anything for them. But what I'm got a phone number if you want to make a complaint against an Iowa lawyer. I got the phone number that you can contact the Iowa Board of Ethics. You have a paper and
Go ahead.
pencil?
Yep, I'm ready.
515-348-4680. That's the phone
And
number.
I got to
And that is the filing an ethic complaint against an Iowa lawyer. Now, here are the common complaints against lawyers. Was there neglect, a lack of communication, a, a misrepresentation or dishonesty, a scope of representation, or fee disputes? Those are common complaints. Does your lawyer fit one of those?
I've never served one on her.
No, you don't have to serve anything. Did she neglect your case?
They wouldn't answer us for anything in the world.
No,
So
did she neglect your case? Was there a lack of communication? Is she not communicating with you?
she would not reply. I was just
Well,
sending her
that's a
email.
lack of
Never tell her
communication.
what I want.
That is a complaint for lack of communication. Is she misrepresenting herself or some dishonesty she's showing you?
Well, not communicating with us on issues. Yeah, I mean we spoke to her personally at first, and she said she'd get this, this, and this, and we told her we wanted the files, and she'd scan and get them to us. She sends us a bill for the scanning and postage, and we still hadn't had them a month later.
Well, that's the problem is that when I do my rule number one, I try to tell people, if you heard my rule number one, when you're looking for an attorney, you need to call 10 attorneys. And to find them, if you want to find a dependency lawyer that can fight CPS. And one of the questions, excuse me, you get 10 of the people. See, your problem is you went to the first one or the second one. You get 10 people, you call them up to see if they're in business. You find out if they are pro bono or have a retainer fee. You find if they have CPS experience and getting children back. You find out if they've fought in dependency court. And so you ask if they're right there and start talking about money, You want to stay away from those attorneys. They're ambulance chasers. You don't want an ambulance chaser fighting your case. Then after you've talked to 10 of them, you're going to narrow it down to 5, and you're going to do a consultation, and you're going to talk to 5 of them. And one of my attorneys, Vincent W. Davis, will talk to you. And he only charges $60 for 30 minutes. And he'll talk to you about your case, how to navigate against CPS, and how to fight CPS and get your children back. He's an excellent dependency law attorney. And he can be reached at, you got a paper and pencil? You can reach at 888-888-6582. And when you call the office, tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And then when you speak to Mr. Davis, you say Bob Pace sent you. And tell him what you want and what the problem is. And for 30 minutes, for $60, he'll talk to you. For 30 minutes, for 6 minutes, he'll talk to you. Because what you need to do, it sounds like your problem is you have a bad attorney. You can have a public defender's a bad attorney. There's a lot of bad attorneys out there, and they will just nothing to talk to you. The way I look at attorneys, if the first words out of their mouth or the first couple of minutes they're talking about fees and money and this, you don't want them. That's a clear indication their goal is to rip you off. The money should be the last thing that an attorney talks to you about. And what you need to do is you need to find 5. You say find in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, a dependency attorney in Cedar Rapids.
I got that. We got to back up into that.
Yeah, find.
My daughter, for the termination of parental rights, my daughter fired the public defender. I went and hired her a family law attorney. She had she charged me $50 just to do a telephone interview with my daughter. And then she said she'd take the case. I ran $5,000 down to her. She sat on that for 3 weeks. 2 days before the hearing, she calls and says she's withdrawing. She says, I know all these people. I work with all these people. The public defender, she's got all her witnesses lined up, etc., etc. We got there. We didn't know what to do. We should have told her the representative herself. Anyhow, the only witness she had was the caseworker. She asked her about 3 questions.
Right. Well, the thing is, you guys could have asked for a continuance. You could have said, Your Honor, may I approach the bench? And he let you come ahead. You approach the bench. Your Honor, we had attorney we hired, but they bailed on us. And we request a continuance so I can hire another attorney. Meanwhile, you call that number and you have a fee dispute with that Iowa number there, and they'll take legal actions against that attorney. You'll get your money back, but it'll take a time to do it. You may have to go.
I already got it back. I got my money.
Okay, so if you got your money back, you could have.
She didn't even sign on to the case. She didn't make no bill.
All right. So what you can do is you can ask the judge, since you represent yourself, and if your daughter does not have a lawyer, now, for instance, you can't go in the courtroom because parents are not privy to the case. The only person the judge would talk to is the person of the case or the public defender or the social workers defenders, the attorneys. So, with your daughter, she's fired her court-appointed attorney. She can approach the bench and say, Your Honor, I need a continuance of this case so that I can find an attorney. But if she went ahead and went with the court proceedings and it did a determination of her educational and medical rights to her children and termination of her children, it's going to be a hard battle to fight.
That's what we're finding out.
I mean, I'm not.
Public defender even show up.
Well,
nobody told her to come back.
The public defenders, let me tell you about them. They're people that are starting out in the law field. They're not dependency attorneys. They're not going to fight for your case. They're going to go the easy way out. They're going to They're friends of the judge, friends of the social worker attorneys, and they are not getting paid very much. So they're not gonna. They're not gonna. They're not. They're worthless. They're worthless.
They're going to do their paperwork, and they
Nah, they
collect
don't
their
do.
money,
They
and
do.
that's
They
all as
they
far as it
push.
goes.
They push paper around, but it's usually not to get your children back. It's the easy way out. So what's happened is that your daughter has a bad image with the judge, with the social workers, and doing drugs is not the end of the road. She can take a drug treatment class, a program, and be free of drugs for a year with testing done every week. You know, she can do that for 52 weeks, and that she can get her children back. But she has to do a lot of things herself. She has to go out and get a full-time job. She's she's going to have to get a home.
And she's working on them.
I know she.
But here's the ironic part. At the last hearing in October, she was told that she would have custody back of the child within 30 days. And this new caseworker that came out of prison came in, and she put the apple cart over.
Well,
By
first of all,
lying about the drug,
I
by
know.
lying about the child tested positive, and she never had tests. And then my daughter swears that the past test results are bogus.
Well, any test
Well,
taken by CPS's people are going to be bogus. She needs an independent drug test of her choice, of her doctors.
but at this point, I'm kind of at a loss of where the turn now. My wheels are spinning. Will it do her any good at this point? I mean, for herself to be clean, yes. But with the courts,
Well, if you can
it's
get
almost impossible to reverse the termination.
no, it's not. You can appeal it. It depends on the number of days the determination was made. Um, a real easy way to straighten out this whole mess is to see if the county, wherever county the CPS started this case in, had registered the case with the state. There's something I found out that they are not advertising. Every CPS case starts out at the county level. The county in turn must report it to the state with the number. Whatever the number of your case is, you would contact the Iowa State, the human resource place, and see if the case is on file. If it's not on file, then they don't have a case or leg to stand on. That's illegal what
I
they're
would
doing.
think that I'll check it, but I would think they'd be smart enough for that.
Well, they did. In my
And
case,
I
they
agree.
didn't. And then a lot of people that have called into the state have found out that their cases isn't on file.
That's possible. Within a year and a half, we had 8 different caseworkers.
Yeah, well, see, I believe anything. First of all, CPS workers lie, they do deception, they're not transparent. And all they interested is their $50 billion business. They want to get that $20,000 per child per month. They want to get that money. And the money comes from the
That's
state.
insane.
The money comes from the state. Every state is paid by the federal government. And they in turn the money. The agency also requests additional fees for special need for kids, to transport kids between states, to pay the foster care parents to take the kids. It's really sad. It's all about money.
Well, we're taking care of the kid for nothing.
But
How nice.
what you can do is try to find a good attorney. Use that $5,000 that you paid the other attorney as a retainer, or you can find a pro bono attorney that'll do it for free. All you need to do is say fine in
I
Cedar.
want a good attorney.
Right, I
Ain't
understand.
got room to take risks
Right.
right now.
Well, if you give $5,000 to a good attorney, they will. But you got to find an attorney. As I told you, you need to get a list of 10 names, and you need to call all 10 and find out, first of all, are they open for business? If they answer the phone, then you know it's a good attorney to start with. Then the next question out of your mouth to them is that, have you fought CPS in dependency court? If they say no, we haven't done that, then you skip that name, go to the next name. But you want to first find out if they have the experience and the expertise in fighting CPS and are open for business. Then when you get a good list of 10 names, then you look it over and pick 5. And I say one of the 5 you pick is Vincent W. Davis. And he'll talk to you for 30 minutes for $60. And he has 35 years experience. He's also a good question to ask these attorneys, these offices, is have they ever done a civil lawsuit against CPS? If the answer is no, don't waste your time, because it is a hard thing to sue them civilly. And attorneys have done so, and they have won cases. Those are the attorneys you want to find. Those are the attorneys you want to find. Attorneys that have.
How do I put it? What's the variance of what this charges? I know there's what I want to say, room, traveling, all this. What's he charge per hour?
Well, they can be anywhere. I mean, if you want a Beverly Hills attorney in Los Angeles, California, it's going to cost you $700 an hour. Now, I'm just trying to say is that you don't want to. You want.
I just asked Bob
Yeah.
that way. Put
No.
you on the spot.
I had to pay. I had a case myself. I had to pay $700 an hour because they're trying to change my daughter's last name. We won the case, but it was costing me $700 an hour, a Beverly Hills attorney. And he only did that because he's trying to make his reputation. I found out he's using my money to make. See, I had a $2 million home, and so I sold it. And that's how I fought. I sold my home. I had $1 million in mortgages, so I, didn't have much left over by the time I paid all my fees. But I worked 40 years for that. And when I lost my job in 2010, I was 60 years old. And so I've been looking for work. And when my young kids were taking me at age 65, I tried to fight it myself. And I got nowhere for the first year. So that's why I hired Vincent Davis. And I'm trying to tell you that he has the same fee for doing law work in Southern California, Northern California, one of the 50 states. The only thing he charges in addition to his law fees is he charges the airfare, the transportation to and from the place he's got to go to, the car rental, and then the hotel he has to stay at. That's all he charges for. And also, and then also, he gauges his fee based on the complexity of the case and how long the case is going on. If it just started out, his fee is going to be lower. But if it's been going on for quite a time, he's going to have a higher retainer. And that's something you have to discuss with him. There's no set retainer for him that will fit everybody. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. Yeah, and you're in the middle of it, so he'll set a retainer, but then he has his hourly rates and so forth. He tries to use paralegals. He tries to use other attorneys that are family law attorneys just learning out, but he uses his time in court. He's a trial attorney, so he knows how to fight in court, and he's been doing it for 35 years. But the thing about him that's different than most attorneys that fight in dependency court is he's won lawsuits, millions of dollars against CPS, both in state courts and then in federal courts, civil lawsuits he's won. So when I talk to attorneys, one of the things I ask them, have you done any civil lawsuits against CPS in the state or federal level? If the answer is yes, then you know that attorney's a good attorney. He's going to be expensive, but he's a good attorney. It's how you.
I got a question here.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ron.
Don't you think that caseworker should have reclused herself because she was in the same substance abuse class as my daughter, and they spilled their guts out in that class. So I mean, they both knew everything the other one did with drugs, but this
Well, here, let me paint another picture, and I do this in every one of my shows, and I have people listening right now, that there are 8 social workers in Prescott, Arizona, that in 2022 made T-shirts. It said on the front, "Professional Child Kidnappers," and on the back it said, "Parents, do you know where your children are?" That's the attitude of social workers. That's the attitude of the CPS. They're not licensed. They don't have to go to college to get a social degree, social work degrees. They don't. They don't have clinical psychiatrists. You are getting the worst of the worst. You said one of your social workers was came out of prison. Now I'm not saying all people who go to prison are bad people, but I'm really
No,
surprised.
I don't agree with that. People can turn their lives around.
Yes, I agree with that. People can turn their life around, and so can mothers and fathers that have abused their children. There's been parents that did not know how to discipline their kids. The CPS's job is to help those parents take parenting classes and learn how to better discipline their children. They're supposed to help them. But they're not interested in helping right now because they got a $50 billion business they got to feed. And they don't care.
Do they get paid for adoptions too?
They get paid for everything. They get bonuses. My social worker bragged every week she saw me and said, "Look at my new Gucci purse." I said, "How did you get that?" "Oh, the bonuses they give us." And she was so
They will
stupid.
not allow my wife and I to be guardians. They want us to adopt them. That's the only choice we have.
No, you can be guardians and not do adoption. You can be guardians and not do adoption. You have to go to a special part of.
Okay.
You have to go to a special part of Iowa. You have to go. There's a special department that handles guardians. CPS does not handle guardianship. Just like criminal crimes are not handled by CPS. You have to make sure it's the right department for guardianship. Now, I'll go right now and Google guardianship in Iowa.
I would think they're afraid that we'll turn it back over to our daughter. And if she's got her shit squared away in 5 years, yeah, we will.
Well, that's fine, but you can't. If you have guardianship, you have to go to court to dissolve the guardianship. You just can't give it to your daughter. I mean,
No, I know we can't just turn it over, but go through the motions.
all right. Iowa courts may appoint individuals and organizations to serve as guardians, conservatories, or both. Guardians are responsible for making decisions about the care and living arrangements for adults or children. Conservatories are responsible for making decisions about the property and finances of adults and children. What are the new laws in Iowa? There's the Iowa Minor Guardianship Proceeding Act. This new act imposes restrictions on potential guardians, including the requirement of a criminal background check, a hearing to determine the necessity of guardianship, and the need for parents to consent in certain circumstances. Do guardians get paid in Iowa? Can guardians or conservatories get paid for their work? Yes. A guardian or conservatory may charge reasonable fee for work done for the protected person. If the protected person has assets, the court will usually order payment from that protected person. How long does Iowa's last a guardian? A guardianship in Iowa lasts until the protected person either does or becomes able to make their own decisions again. This may be true even if the protected person will have a mental disability. The protected person may also request the court terminate the guardianship. Does guardianship override parental rights in Iowa? If the parents do not consent, then the proposed guardian must show by clear and convincing evidence that a guardianship is needed. The Iowa Supreme Court has confirmed a parent's fundamental right to the care, custody, and control of their children.
See, we had guardianship, and they claimed that they could take it away with China. I don't
No, they
buy
can't.
that.
They can't. What you need to do is, I'm saying that the internet,
Well,
and I'm telling you and
if
everybody in,
that's the case, Bob,
yeah,
we're still guardians, and that China
Well, true. But you have to go by the paperwork and how it's signed and how it spells out. I know you've been waiting for many weeks to talk on the show, and I'm glad you are. And I'm
You
glad I'm
know,
able to help you.
it just makes you sick every time you get talking about it because
I know.
you've been screwed, tattooed, and they have all the rights. And
True.
they're supposed to be a state agency, and
Well,
they're worse than the mafia.
well, it is. The government is corrupt. There's no
It's a
question.
form of
Yeah. I had Happy Feet send another comment. It was a shock to us when my attorney
okay.
didn't show up, and my husband's attorney stated she was filling in for my attorney because he was out of the office. Well, Happy Feet, you don't want to let a public defender that's representing your husband represent you. That won't work in the court, in dependency court. You have to have your own
That's a conflict.
attorney.
Yep.
It's a conflict of interest. That's right. So when you get caught up in cases, in CPS cases, the children will each have an attorney. The social workers will have an attorney. Each parent will have an attorney. Now, if you can't afford one, a court will appoint one. If you can't afford one, you can use it. And you have to understand that you cannot talk freely in court if you're represented by counsel. The only time you can talk freely in court is if you're doing the case yourself. But you have to be really careful because you're in a court of law and there's rules and court protocol that you need to follow. You just can't do some of the things that you think you can. That one was so hard in the federal case, right? Well, I don't know if it's the federal case, the New York case against Donald Trump. He wants to talk, but he has attorneys that have to do the talking. So I'm trying to tell you, the we if you want to learn about law, watch the case in New York. It's covered everything you can imagine in a case thing
He
there.
just picked her as his running mate. He's clear himself of everything.
Well, I mean, it's all everybody knows from day one that they can't beat Donald Trump, and the only way they're going to beat him is just discredit him. They tried to impeach him twice in Congress when he was president of the United States. That didn't work. They've tried something like 100 lawsuits, and I think there's only one left, and that's the one that's going to have closing arguments next week. Now, it's really interesting how court of law works, and you learn a lot from other cases, whether they're about criminal matters or civil matters or child matters in dependency court. And dependency court is so different than criminal court. In criminal court, you are innocent till you're proven guilty. But in dependency court, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. So anything that is alleged against you by people that are lay people, like family, friends, relatives, that maybe use CPS for alternative motives. Someone doesn't like the way your grass is overgrowing your yard. So what you do is you call CPS and make a fictitious story and try to punish your neighbor. Or let's say your dog barks, the neighbor's dog barks too much. You call in. Or in my case, I had my in-laws that didn't like me, didn't like their daughter, and for 32 years were constantly complaining about us. And in 2010, when I lost my job, they thought they could come and take our children, so they made stupid remarks. And one of the family members is a social worker in Cincinnati, Ohio. And that's wrong. They would call to California and say, oh, the Pace children are not fed any food, or the Pace children have no electricity, or the Pace children don't go to school. Well, every time for 5 years, I prove them wrong. I show them the grade reports. I show them my utility bills being paid. I need to let them in my house, which I wasn't supposed to. Show them the food in the refrigerator, the meals, the house was fine. It wasn't until my parents were dying, and I said to my mom and dad, what can I do to help? And they said, can you take our belongings and get them to our family and friends? So I went and took 4,000 square feet of belongings from the home because they were selling it. They're liquidating things. And I put it in my home. The only problem is it's a lot of belongings. And they're in boxes, and I stacked them and organized it. But the children's rooms weren't impacted. The upstairs was not impacted. I had a huge home. I had a $2 million home. So I'm trying to tell you that, these social workers are so stupid. I did not know the thing about children are taken automatically, whether in extreme danger or not. Our children were not in extreme danger. They were in school when they were taken from us. They were in school when they were taken from us. And that was wrong. I should have exercised my life and said that you're not allowed in my home unless you have a court order. And where is extreme danger you're talking about? What is extreme danger? And they said, well, your boxes, because I live in my home. I said, well, what's extreme danger? Well, it could fall over and hurt them. I said, they're 9, 12, and 15. They're bigger than 2 or 3 layers of boxes. I didn't put them precariously. Look around the room. Is there anything in there? Well, you have so much stuff here. I said, well, what are you supposed to do? I don't have a job. I can't put them all in storage and take them out at one at a time and try to displace them. So it was a miserable experience.
So vulnerable at that age. Our grandson, he'll just blow up at something and he'll hit the teachers and everything else. We take him to play therapy, and the play therapist says he's getting a flashback. And she says it's just like Vietnam.
Yeah.
When he's seen that violence, that flashback comes back to him.
Right.
You don't know how to react.
Right.
And I gotta believe there's a lot of truth to that.
Yep, there is. CPS should be an organization of friendly, educated, responsible parents that work at that job. A 22-year-old woman, no college degree, working in the capacity that our social worker was the wrong candidate. Also, they should be licensed, and they should be recertification every so many years, just like policemen, just like doctors, just like lawyers. You don't have a license for life. You have to get recertified because changes happen in your field. And CPS should have a group of individuals that oversees them at the county level. It shouldn't be just one director responsible for all these children. There are over, 500,000 children in CPS cases alone. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
They want to train them to their way.
Well, they don't train them. That's the problem. I had a CPS worker on my show from Maryland, and for 40 minutes she talked about how great her program was. I said, well, I've had 4 people from Maryland that tell me just the opposite. And she said, well, I went to college. I'm a clinical. I said, not all social workers are clinical therapists. And I think they should also take all the parenting classes, all the programs, so that they're familiar with it. How can you instruct parents to do these things if you haven't done them yourself? I mean, you don't even know what a parenting class is. And this social worker I had at 22 was a basket case. And she got beat in court because my attorney, Vincent Davis, was cross-examining her, and she lied. And when she lied, she let her head down, bowed, and the next thing I know, the next time she visits, she says, you parents are never going to see your daughter. And so she instructed our daughter at age 12 to change her name, to seal her birth certificate, to be adopted, and to divorce us and her brothers and her grandparents and all her relatives. She divorced them all. Now, at 12 years old, you don't know how to do that. And that was a threat by a social worker. And if I had the money, I already spent all my money, but if I had any money, I would have done a civil lawsuit and won. I'm talking a civil lawsuit of something like $50 million. But I didn't have the money, so I've been fighting it for 14 years by doing this podcast, trying to wake people up, to tell people that CPS is corrupt, that CPS is not your friend, and to be careful and to know your civil and constitutional rights. And you need to get an attorney, a dependency law attorney that knows how to fight CPS. And yes, a lot of attorneys are afraid to fight CPS because it's big dollar time. But a good attorney can fight CPS. Vincent Davis is that good attorney. He can do that. So what is your next course of action, Ron? Because we got about 5 minutes left. What's your next course of action?
I'm trying. Okay, the state supreme level hearing is tomorrow, and I've been trying to get a hold of the attorney. She did file an appeal for the next level up, but I wanted to talk to her about all these other things, about the caseworker being in prison, about the caseworker lying about the child tested positive for illegal substances, and her criminal background. I think the case, it either needs a new hearing or it needs thrown out.
Well, I think real quickly, if you make a call to the state and find out if the case is even on file, it can be thrown out.
Do you think the state could possibly throw the whole file out?
Well, if it doesn't exist, it's a bogus case. And if your attorney's any good, he should recognize that. In fact, he should thank you for suggesting that. But you need to, it's a simple phone call. It's maybe involve 10 or 15 or half an hour of your time. You have nothing to lose. You have to have the case number, though. You have to have the case number.
It's not. Oh, okay.
But that is one thing that you
That
could
would
do
be
really
on
quick.
the-
I mean,
I could get that. That would be on the defiled papers, right?
yeah, there's a procedure, and your attorney that you've hired should be able to do that. There's procedures. It's a loophole. That's what Donald Trump does. He does loopholes. He gets things thrown out.
She's going to play the phone tag game. I ain't going to get through to her.
Yeah, no, they're not going to be fair with you. They're not going to be fair with you. They're not going to be fair with you at all.
And did you give me a number for that place to call to
Yes.
see if there was a case filed?
I think I did. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, and then you gave me one number.
I think I gave you.
888
I gave.
6582.
That's Vincent Davis's number. That's Vincent Davis's number.
Oh, okay. But I'm missing 3 digits.
Okay, let me give it to you again. Hold on. I need to drop the comment. It's 888-888-6582. That's Vincent Davis's number.
Okay. Maybe that's where I misunderstood you. 888. When I thought you said 888, I was 3/8, but it was 888 twice.
Yeah, 888 twice, then 6582. And then I gave you the link to find out. They don't have a phone number, but they have an email that you can send to find out if your case is open. It's the one that's called https://hhs.iowa.gov/initiatives/open-records. Again, you can just Google Iowa. There's so much that Iowa has. It's just that people need to phrase their questions right, is all they have to say.
Give me that again. Google what, and then I'll find it that way, and then I'll let you go for another
Okay.
call.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to end the show because I got about 1 minute left. It's https://hhs period Iowa IOWA.gov/initiatives INITIATIVES/open-records. Hyphen, it's a dash.
Hyphen in there? Okay.
Records.
And
Open records. Yeah, hyphen records.
Okay. I'll try that.
And I should say,
or if I got the number.
if you do, the HHS in Iowa, that'll get you to all kinds of places. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for your time and info, Bob.
Yeah, I got to end off. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me, Ron. I want to thank Happy Feet 7. I will be on again. tonight at 7 o'clock uh, p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And let me see who else we had here. We had a new person today. Besides Happy Feet, we had. Let me see if I can find them. I thought they were on there. Let me see. We had Happy Feet, and then we had. Uh, yeah, we had Isaac. We had Isaac Lane, and I have no idea where they're from, but they're on the show. Thank you, Isaac. And again, thank you all for listening. God bless you all. Keep fighting for your kids. And this is, I'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific time. This is Bob Pace signing off.